Never shall innocent blood be shed, yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us! We do not ask for your poor, or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this, Star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Hello, guys.
Well,
How are you fine gentlemen doing this evening?
I'm all right. Sitting here with some coffee.
Serving life as usual.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. So, I don't want to hijack the show because it's an open show. It's shop talk. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm sure we got a million different things we could talk.
Well, depending on how it goes, I can bring up something, but let's just let it
Sure.
flow.
Okay. Well, I can start with one that, there are things that make you they make you cringe, It's like, did I have to watch that? And let's see, how should I share this one?
Uh-oh.
We're gonna be a little less polished than usual tonight because we're gonna be bouncing in and around and out of stuff. So, but it's a video on Twitter. Let's see here. What's the best way to share this? And the question is, it's just a question. Are white men obligated to marry a ran through white woman?
Oh, this question again. That we're a bunch of cowards for not wanting to get run through the ringer and zeroed out. Because, men have to make sacrifices for the propagation of the white race.
Oh, yes. I think you captured the argument.
Yeah, well, then I won't share it because it's a 3-minute video that's basically a long-winded argument about why it's important for white men to marry run through white women. Like that's all the video says in very long-winded terms.
I mean, doesn't the Bible say something against that even?
Oh, you mean marrying whores?
Yeah, like their path leads down to Sheol's, and there's many bones of many men's bodies or something like that.
Now, the guy who did this video, he is on the extreme white side. Right?
Yeah, extreme right would be
superficially.
That's actually a really good way to state it there, Steve. And
he's
go
ahead. Well, he's just saying whiteness is so damn important. You got to go out and marry these women regardless of who they are. And he actually says, you know what? If have darker skin, you know what? You have better options by being a passport bro. But if you're white, you have an obligation to marry one of these hoes here to propagate the race.
And see, that was interesting. That one sat sideways in my craw because I married a woman who's whiter than the driven snow, and she ain't from this continent hemisphere. I have to fly for 20 hours to get to her home, kind of deal. So, but she's Nordic white. Like, I mean, I cannot build a whiter woman if you tried. So, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, is she really white? Because she's Slav. She's a Slav.
I know.
They don't count, do they?
It's not like me. But I have to be proud of where I come from, too. But at the end of the day, that's not, yeah, it's important. But pretty sure there's these moral qualifications in the Bible that are a little bit more important than what version of white you are if you're white. So,
well, I mean, the bit where they say you have to marry basically an American white woman. The fuck? No, I did that. Bad.
I did too. Steve did.
Yeah.
Too. Well, he got a Canadian, so I don't know if that counts.
I don't know if it would in their book or not. That they don't specify on that.
So we have a uniting a force between the feminists who say, regardless of her past, just wife her up.
Mhm.
The tradcons who say, regardless of her past, if she loves Jesus, wife her up. And
Yeah.
the white guys saying, regardless of her past, because of her skin, wife her up. Holy
It's a
shit.
common refrain here.
It doesn't end. It just it doesn't end. It does appear that when you look at this, the sole purpose of men across any possible denomination of men is save the whore. Now, I had a thought about this, and I want to run it past you guys because
Okay.
Rollo says something that is, I think, superficially correct. And he says, in the dating market, your brand is everything. And I don't think he's wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong, but for example, these guys, I think they would proudly, how can I say that word on YouTube? They would call themselves what's the, it starts with a G Groy, you know, they're one of, I think they would call themselves one of that class, right? But it's become a brand. And so what I think the failure of this idea of brand is everything is that you can only ever be your brand. So if you are a white, you know, white supremacist, whatever you want to call these guys, you can't have a nuanced take, or not even nuanced. You can't hold an opinion that goes against your brand, even if that opinion is moral and logical and objectively true, because your brand is, well, I am about the white race. And so even if it destroys white men, it is more important to have white babies for the white race than it is for the men, because their brand says that's what we're all about, and they can't leave that.
No, it's not just them. The world has been moving this direction for a few years. It's called identity politics. If you're black, you have to behave a certain way and support all blacks and all, you know, the whole agenda there. If you're Jewish, okay, you got to stick with your people and defend them, right, wrong, indifferent. If you're American, I'm patriotic and I'm for my country, right, wrong, or whatever. If you're a white man, oh, I'm for my race. I'm right, wrong, or whatever. Morality and principles have no place at all in identity politics. This is just identity politics.
Saying in-group preference is wrong.
No, but
But
that's not
morality is objective.
identity
But
politics.
morality is objective, depending, regardless of, you know, white, black, whatever.
Yes,
Morality is the same.
We are all tribal.
There's an objective morality, regardless, and an objective metaphysic.
Yeah, right.
An objective truth.
Well, and that's okay. Tacticus, I see you in the chat. Yeah, today you can identify as any brand, which is probably the apotheosis of identity politics. Is if you can be anything, or if you can be anything you want, you can literally be anything. You can identify as any. I can identify as Skittles. Okay, there we, identified as a sugary brand. Okay, you know, like it just goes to the
Good for
absurd
you.
ridiculous. But that's kind of what's happening with these various narratives. They are so brand driven. They are monomaniacally their brand, that even when confronted with, well, I could go to these guys and say, look, you're saying that, but men are clearly choosing not to do that. So there is something more important to these men than their white tribe. And I would argue that that is not getting destroyed in divorce court. And they don't, in this video, they don't say, but what would they, here's how they would rephrase it. Say, okay, we understand that you have issues with the legal system. You just need to have more white babies, and then eventually, and there's always this eventually in it, eventually we will be able to take over and change the laws to save you. But for now, you just need to make that sacrifice. Well,
that's the same bullcrap Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire argued.
Exactly. It's no different. And these are very anti-Jewish people saying the same thing, that, like, I hate to say it, but like all of these sides agree on one thing.
Wife her up, have kids.
Yes.
We promise we'll fix it later.
You know what? I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
They're not saying it's just lip service. Do it now, we'll fix it later. That's just superficial. The real sentiment is, yeah, it sucks to be a man, and it's an uphill battle, but you got to do it anyway because it's your duty. We're probably never going to fix it, but you still got to do your duty. That's kind of the sentiment.
Okay. I will pivot to something else that I've been tracking recently. Some general in Britain comes out and says in a public speech, Britain needs to prepare themselves to sacrifice their sons and daughters in a war in Europe. And
for what?
Well,
to kill the Ruskies.
Well, yes.
No, they got problems at home. They're being erased at home.
Nick. So Sargon, aka Carl Benjamin, just asked a simple question. Why would they leave and fight for, and he's just got clips playing of the ethnic Lashistan invading via the English Channel in the background. He just got them playing on the side. Why would English men go and defend king and country when they know that their sisters are getting raped at home?
And they are persecuted, marginalized, destroyed for actually trying to preserve the country and their heritage and anything at home right now.
I think
not to mention they got the problem with the water turning the frogs gay. There.
Yeah.
Which country was it? Just this week came out. Australia, New Zealand, UK. It was one of the Commonwealth countries that was going to make it against the law for a man to criticize a woman. How the fuck is this going to work?
Yeah, which country was that? It was one of the European countries. It's one of the Eurozone countries.
Well, I think it was a Commonwealth country, an English-speaking country. But
then it would be Britain. No, the article was in the Guardian. Now that I'm pulling the picture up in my head, it would be Britain. That'd be Britain.
Okay, you can't disagree with a woman.
Sure. Yeah, it could be Australia too. They're also, yeah. It's one of those. Right.
So she spouts some bullshit, some just ludicrous idea, And as a rational man, you got to keep your mouth shut and say,
It was
okay.
the Green Party. It was the Green Party in the
Yes,
UK.
the
I'm
Green
looking
Party.
it up now. It was the Green Party in the
Oh.
UK. Yeah. So that's yes. Men are going to throw themselves in front of a mass of bullets for a country that is importing rapists and is telling them that they can't even disagree with their women. No.
Oh, and the women are fully in support of opening up the borders. And they're actively fighting against the men who used to have the impetus of protecting women. Now the men are just saying, you know what? It's not my problem.
Right. And then they do these appeals to patriotism. What freaking patriotism? You beat it out of us. You told us we were evil for being patriotic. I mean, you've got. I'm not even sure I can say that name on YouTube. Gavin McInnes and his group. You've got, they were. I mean, he was canceled, deplatformed, everything for exactly that patriotism that they are now trying to appeal to. Well, what fealty do I owe you who is beating the crap out of me? I owe you nothing. And that's it. I owe you nothing. I hate to say this, but I don't owe the quote unquote white race my DNA so the state can destroy me later on in life. I don't owe them that. Well, but we promise we'll fix it at some point in the future. Bullshit. You fix it now, and then we'll talk.
No. Yep.
So I can suggest a way for men to deal with this. Just sit back, laugh, get some popcorn, just watch what happens. Because this narrative, this propaganda is being pushed from all sides. Yet young men, for the most part, in general, are not signing up to get married and have kids. They're just not doing it. Oh, yes, a few lone soldiers are marching in. Yes, I'm going to do it. Great. The laws are not going to change. They're going to be zeroed out and just going to be, slaughtered at the same scale that men have been in the past. And you know what? Once they're zeroed out, they're going to change sides and come to our side and say, yeah, you change the society, and then we'll show up. Women have to actually be under male authority. Nope. No more of the shared bullshit. Doesn't work. We tried it. Civilization was built under a patriarchy where men had headship in the family, under coverture. Now it's anti-coverture, where women have all the power, the authority. Men still carry all the financial burden, but men aren't signing up. So you know what? Propaganda is not going to change it. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh yeah, and they're run through. They can't pair bond. It's so much easier for them to cheat on you, and they might. Oh, and by the way, they have so great of standards that are insane, even though they're run through, and they still can't bring you a dowry.
Yeah, they
Well,
bring
Nick,
they bring no value.
Nick, how the hell do you expect yourself to compete? I think you're 6 foot. You're over 6 foot, right?
No, I'm not. No, I'm just under 6.
Oh shit,
top
you
of
don't
that.
have that six.
Uh-oh.
You're a burly guy, so you don't have a six pack. And you're not making six figures.
Nope, and I'm scared to.
As well, you
I
should
don't know
be.
how many of the sixes. Shit. You're not doing that great either.
Why should I?
Well, I think there's a broader problem, and I've just 30,000 foot view of the space on the internet. The only way to get money and attention is to have a brand, but by being a brand, you silo yourself into that brand to the point where you have to make performatively bad choices of things. Like, these guys are literally saying, "Oh yeah, do exactly what Jeremy Boring says and go wife a run through whore." One of the things I like about our channel is we have no brand. We are beholden to the truth wherever that takes us. Sometimes it takes us places we don't like to go.
That's the truth. And it hurts. Sometimes the truth hurts. Like,
Right.
man,
It is, and in my opinion, and this is my opinion, the future will not be won with brands. It is my opinion that the era of the brand is already coming to a close. Now,
it'll
women
be
will-
won by force.
right. And
Whoever has it.
well, but see, and that's the thing is right now, your brand is how you attract women, particularly if you're an internet creator guy. But the reality is, Elena has seen me on the range. She's seen what I can do. All of you content creator guys, she kind of rolls her eyes at the performativeness of it. She's met real power. Okay. She's met force. She knows what it looks like. That's where women are going. And the funny thing is, that's where the red pill says women will go. He who has the most power is where women will end up.
Plutarch, you missed something even more important. Elena knows how power feels.
We can't hear you. You're in front of your microphone.
Elena knows how power feels. Because
yes,
you say no. You plan things out. When she asks you a question, she knows you're going to have an answer. You have it thought out, and you have direction. So, oh yeah, okay, yeah, this guy's also formidable. He can use firearms. But in just day-to-day leadership, you are a force to be reckoned with. You just have confidence, and you set the direction, and you don't let her influence or deviate the path. Although, as a smart man, every man listens to what his woman says and factors that into his decision. So it's not like she's ordered around all the time, but you set the direction. That is what a woman feels. And that's why a woman will stay faithful, stay married, avoid divorce, or not choose divorce. It's that feeling of, okay, yep, he's in charge, and I can just trust that it'll work out.
So, yeah, yes, and Tacticus, I think, is getting to the point here. Do females, due to the 19th, have force? The answer to that question is two answers. Okay. One is, do they have force? Yes, they do. They can vote for government programs that exert force on men and do exert force on men. So we have to say that yes, they do, because they have already done so and built entire systems specifically for the subjugation of men. That's force. But at the same time, they have to rely on men to enforce those programs. Police, judiciary,
Simps.
simps. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll say it. The judges and police are a bunch of simps and white knights.
I think we need to distinguish here.
I don't.
Oh, well, wait till you hear what I have to say.
All right, all right.
Okay, you got the simps
Yeah.
who go in and, women, you see this mostly in social media. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, yes, I agree with you. Just giving them attention and all that crap. Those are the simps that we identify as the simps. Then you have the minions, the police, those who, oh, yes, I'm a white knight. I'm going to go in and just fight for women and arrest the bad men and, do the women's bidding. Those guys are not overtly acting as simps. They're fucking minions. Women have no direct power, but they can direct the power of the minions of the state to do their will.
yeah, I mean it's one of those ones where you're not going to get a straight up yes no answer. Because they do and they don't. And so it's a good question. It's definitely one that we're going to have to address going forward as a society. Do men have any power whatsoever or not? Are women allowed to have any force of power or not? The answer would appear to be they were given it and they promptly destroyed the civilization with it. So there's that.
Ultimately, men possess the power over themselves to not marry. They give up that power over themselves once they marry.
Yeah. And why are you trying to convince men to enslave themselves and be, enslaved by the state and have their children kidnapped? Why are we arguing for this possibility? Oh, it's just a risk that you have to take. Okay. Is that a
Hey,
smart
believe it or
risk?
not,
No, it's not.
why is Nick Fuentes gaining power?
But he's not
I
married.
just listened to an interview from him and he said exactly that. Why would I get married and give up my power over myself and my life and my adventure, whether I take risks, whether I don't, and become subservient to a woman? Why would I do that? No. Plus, I'm Catholic. I don't have to do that. I don't have to go out and bang a whole bunch of women. I'm adhering to my religion, but my choice is within my religion. I'm fine. Now you can disagree, and I probably do disagree with some of his other stances, but in that one, he's right. And young men, like it or not, are following Nick Fuentes.
So Steve, what I hear you saying is that when all other power has been stripped from men, as it has, the only power that men have is to not exercise their natural power.
Yeah. The power to go on strike.
Yeah, exactly. We have the power we will always have the power to say, no, we're just going to sit over here and we're going to watch you folks squirm and suffer a bit. And people will say, oh, well, it's not Christian to say that, that we should watch people suffer and just let them suffer. What? I mean, I could do a whole segue into the latest attacks on the anti-H1B crowd. It's basically toxic Christianity of because Jesus said something, you have to let in all the people. But it's the same thing. I
Love
am
for your
not.
neighbor, but how this is the so great love for your neighbor that you will never fix the system to help man.
Well,
Get the F out of here.
I think JD Vance actually said it best. Ordo amoris. There has to be a hierarchy to who you give your love to.
Exactly. Who is your neighbor?
Right. Yes.
Okay. We can go back to the Bible. The story of the Good Samaritan. Who is his neighbor? The guy hurting on the street, the guy closest to him. He didn't say, well, I could just walk by and I could save my money and I could give it to the church, synagogue, whatever, and save 10 people from starvation. Or I can use my funds to help this man right here. Okay. Your neighbor is the one closest to you. Boomers kind of got this wrong when they say, oh, you know what? When I die, I'm going to leave my money, my inheritance to charities. You know what? I'm going to help out people in Africa. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give it to the missions and save souls for Jesus. Your neighbor, for you boomers, is your children.
Yes. Yes.
So, you know what? We got it all wrong. We're out here to save the world, and we're not saving our own. And it starts out by passing on your legacy directly to your children to help them get started in life. And when you don't do that, the children say, yeah, fuck you. I'm not signing up to save your ass after you just fucked me over and don't care about me.
And that's why the British men are saying, go fight your own war. I mean, that's where this all ends. And okay, so Shu just dropped a great comment in here that I really want to address because this is good stuff. Okay, he says, but Andrew Wilson thinks he can change all these institutions peacefully. Right. Okay, Shu. Yes, Andrew Wilson does think he can do that. But you've also seen Andrew Wilson absolutely lose his shit over the birth rates. Andrew Wilson has been as yet unable to reconcile these two different goals because he doesn't realize that the only way to save the birth rate is to uproot the institutions. But a peaceful reinstitutionalization would take decades. And in the meantime, you have to suffer horrifically low birth rates to get there, to get to the point where you've got enough institutional control to change these laws peacefully. But he can't accept birth rates that low. And so Andrew Wilson comes back around to this idea of, well, just suck it up, boys, marry that whore, have the kids now, and we promise that we'll change those institutions later. That's the only way they can square that circle.
There's a simple way to get to the same conclusion. First of all, most men who become fathers are good fathers, good enough fathers. The vast majority of men are good fathers. Not all. Maybe only 80, 90%. I mean, there's plenty of examples. I don't know what the number is. There's plenty of examples of bad fathers. But as a rule, most men who become fathers are good fathers or good enough fathers. So, you want to save the human race? You want to increase the birth rate? support fathers, and then men will do what men have always done. They will bear the burden. They will get married. They will have children. That is what men are created for. Just put the men back in, just do the laws to do that. You don't even have to worry about the birth rate. That'll take care of itself.
Well, yes, that's my point. That's
over
been
time. And it's not immediate. Once
yep.
the men are back in charge,
That's
they're
not going to trust it.
This women doing whatever the hell they want to do, getting run through. Somehow that's just going to handle itself once the men are back in charge. Because nope, not going to happen.
Well, and you have an entire generation of run-through women who are aging out of having eggs. So that's going to be a whole problem to deal with. There is going to be demographic consequences no matter what we do. But the fastest way to get the birth rate back up is to tear out the institutions root and branch as soon as humanly possible. This idea that we're going to do
and throw them in jail and incarcerate them.
Yes, please do. Because
they should be.
Well, this idea that you're going to do this peacefully and in a reconciliatory way, as was done after the Civil War. Remember, that took decades. The Reconstruction was decades.
That wasn't peaceful.
Mostly peaceful.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Nick, did not the North send a whole bunch of troops down to the South to force Reconstruction, throw out all the politicians, and then you had the carpetbaggers come in to be the new politicians? Was it peaceful or was it done by force?
It was done by force.
It was done by force. Yeah.
So, but my point here is that there really isn't any sort of peaceful solution to the institutions problem that doesn't involve probably 60 years of very highly coordinated and determined ethnic replacements of wholesale replacements of these institutions. Like, okay, you say, okay, well, we need to have more or ethnic or religious replacement. You have to get your Christians in there, etc. It's going to take 60 years to build up enough of them. How do I know that? Because it took 60 years for the Marxists to take over American institutions. Like, that's just how long it takes.
Well, maybe the Southern Reconstruction is a good model. It was mostly peaceful, but it was forceful.
Yes.
I think
they went in and they said, nope, this is the way it's going to be. People had no choice. This is the way it's going to be. They forcefully changed the system. And it is what it is.
Franco's a good model.
There are all kinds of examples in history.
No, our system says republic, democratic republic. No,
it's not.
Institutions.
Yeah, today we are just we're democratic socialists today. That is our actual system. We are democratic socialists. We vote for socialism.
Got to go Franco on them.
Well, that's what's going to happen if, and you can see it building on Twitter. Men are getting fed up with everything. And, Shu, I just want to pull this up here. He says, yeah, that's exactly it, even though I still like him. Yes, we like a lot of what Andrew Wilson says. But if we can't point to somebody and say, dude, you're not thinking here at all. And when Andrew starts talking about demographics, he gets very emotional. And so I can tell you he's not thinking, because he gets emotional about it. So, just you have to be able to point to him and go, Andrew, sorry, that's just not how any of this works. You're gonna have to accept some pain here. And
here's the deal. I respect him. But any man I respect, I'm going to challenge and call him out when I think
Yes.
he's wrong. I'm not going to suck up to him.
Hey, Steve.
I mean, that would mean I don't respect him.
Well, yeah, Steve, exactly. We need to bring back this idea that you challenge people you respect. That respect comes with challenge and pushback. And if you're getting pushback, that means you are respected.
I don't even have to win. We could have a friendly discussion. I'm not going to debate the guy. He's into debate. I'm really not. But I'm into exploring ideas. We could have a friendly discussion. If he can prove me wrong, hey, I'll learn something. And I'm willing to learn. I hope he's willing to learn. And sure. I will guarantee that if we had a face-to-face discussion, debate with a little d, I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to change my mind a little bit. And I hope he would be willing to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, great. Then when we're done, well, if we were in the same town, we'd go have a beer together and talk about other things. And yep, okay, great.
That's what respect actually looks like, or respect amongst men. That's what it actually looks like. You have a disagreement, you talk about it. Maybe you get, maybe your voices rise. You get maybe not emotional, but you get passionate, or you get you get really involved in the debate. And then when you're done, you shake hands and you go out for a beer at the end of it, and you start yucking it up and laughing and having a great time. That's what masculinity looks like. All of this histrionics and I have to be the best, the right. It's all brand. That's all it is. It's all brand.
Must protect the brand.
Yeah. And
brand flakes.
Brand flakes. I don't have a brand.
Different kind of brand, but
Well, I don't have a brand. Nick has a small little brand for his particular brand of fire and brimstone preaching. Steve, what's your brand?
I don't know.
Truck driver guy, old truck driver, old boomer.
I suppose that would be my identity. I don't know if it's my brand.
Well, see, right. This whole brand is life thing, I'm already seeing it start to go away. If you look around, people are starting to, as things get worse, people are starting to go, who are you and what are you really about? And are you willing to compromise? Yeah, there we go. Shoot, I'm out here selling my Pilot brand. Right. It's like, are you willing to compromise on your brand? Because your brand can make you say all sorts of absolutely retarded things, like we were saying earlier. Like, oh, well, in order to save the white race, you have to wife up the whore. Oh, no. But if you're willing to compromise on your brand, then do you really have one?
Probably not. I mean, why have a brand? That just seems silly. Have your as a man, have your principles and your morals. And yes, all people are tribal. So take care of your own, which means your kin, your tribe first. But treat everyone fairly. Look after your neighbor, do your duty. But okay, I'm a truck driver. I'm a teamster. Is teamster my brand? Is truck driver my brand? No, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. Did that for many years. And being a truck driver doesn't define my essence, nor as a union teamster. That doesn't define me.
when you let your brand define you, you become a one-dimensional person incapable of having of even allowing a thought outside of your brand. And I think that's the problem that these whitey white guys are running into. They're literally telling men to do the exact same thing that Daily Wire, which is a name that if I said on their podcast, they might ban me for saying, right? But Daily Wire says the exact same thing. And so they have to say things that are fundamentally compromised because their brand demands it. I'm sorry, I refuse to work that way. So no, I'm not going to have a brand. That's just me. I'm done. Does anybody have anything else they would like to bring up?
Oh, I just thought of something. Is that their
All right.
shibboleth?
Shibboleth or shibboleth?
Oh, can you explain the difference, Nick?
No. Trying to think. It's in the Bible. I think it was dealing with east of the promised land. There's two tribes that settled east of the promised land, cross the river Jordan, and their pronunciation deviated over time, and there were dialect differences between how they pronounce Hebrew words. And
Right.
so the test of who was on whose side was, could they say shibboleth correctly? And they
And
pronounced it two different ways.
some couldn't say the sh sound. They could only say the S sound. So some said sibboleth, some said shibboleth. So you could tell whether they were one of yours, whether they said the right word the right way. So it's like a litmus test to see if you're one of our identity people. Do you say the right thing so you belong to our club?
Are they cookies
So
or biscuits?
yeah. So it's like, okay, this is a little bit of history lesson that says, yeah, we're kind of doing the same thing now.
I definitely see that idea of linguistic fracturing happening all over the place. And
It's always been a fracture in the South.
well, wasn't that part of the reason behind the Southern accent, Nick? Wasn't that part of the reason behind it? It was to set
No,
themselves apart.
I'm referring to. I can't understand. I don't understand ghetto talk.
Oh, okay. The other way. Okay, you're talking about the other way. Okay,
And
gotcha.
there's the people you can comprehend, and then there's people who are like, "What did you just say?
Right.
You racist?" I'm like, "No, I really just can't understand."
Well, and Andrew has a great point here. Compromising one truth for another only ends with the death of truth. Right. Literally, the brands become the truth, and so it's like each brand gets its sliver of truth, and then you as a person have to decide which brand or brands you wish to ascribe to, and you kind of piece together a truth out of that. That's not a way to live. It doesn't work. You will always be held back by your inability to function because you can't see that there's a different truth out there, that there's more truth out there. You can't see past the brands you've selected as your truths. So, yeah.
Talking about what? Oh, there's this video about this guy that was elected out. I think it was Minnesota, might have been some other country, and he's like, "I wrote this. What's it called? Impeachment of Donald Trump." I'm like, nobody's gonna take your ass seriously.
I know what you're talking about, and I know who. Yeah,
I watched that. I was like, "Is this guy for real?"
yeah, it is actually. They're already pushing. I mean, if anybody thinks that they don't start impeaching Donald Trump on January 7th, you're just
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
delusional.
But hey, that's supposedly my neighbor, but he's not. He can go down sand, go the hell back to the other side of the world.
We probably need to do a little bit of fracturing, a little bit of separation, a little bit of time apart.
It's going to happen.
One way or another.
Everybody is moving into their own group. And there's a lot of infighting among various groups. We're being divided right now. It continues this way. Yeah, it's going to come to some sort of violence. I'm not advocating that, but I think it's inevitable.
Yeah. Steve.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had something to bring up.
Yeah, I'm going to switch topics.
Go for it.
To something, not what I had in mind. Something else. Who is our enemy? Okay, let me set this up. We don't like where the world is going. We think things should change. Is our enemy the immigrants? Is our enemy the government? Is our enemy the banksters? Is our enemy the globalists? Is our enemy the Jews? Who is our enemy? Who's stopping and propagating the crap that we're having to put up with that's destroying families, destroying men, destroying families, and destroying women? Who is our enemy? Is it any of the above?
Andrew. Liberal white women.
That's an enemy. We
Bingo.
have a lot of enemies. We have a
Bingo.
lot of
Okay.
enemies. We have
Okay.
a lot of enemies,
No.
and we can't consolidate on it. The problem is nobody's.
Yes, Andrew has it
You can't-
right, but not the racial part. It's women. Women are the enemy. Okay, now I don't really want to go to war with women, but go back to Genesis. Women, the woman made the first wrong decision. The man listened. Right now, the world is run by women. It's a gynocentric world. All the laws are in women's favor. All the family stuff is in women's favor. All the dialogue and the policing of what you can say and can't say, women are doing that. The Green Party implementing something in Great Britain or Australia, wherever, that it's against the law to criticize a woman. Who's the enemy? It's women.
Well, Steve.
Guys, okay, now I don't want us to go on attacking women, but you got to realize the women's agenda and actions are actually our enemy. So you need, as men, we need to take charge. And because it's a whole bunch of estrogenic people, and the simps basically are estrogenic people too. The women really are the enemy, and men need to take charge. Patriarchy needs to prevail. What's preventing patriarchy? Yes, all those groups are somewhat supporting and promoting the women, but keep that in mind. Whenever you're talking to a woman, she has a different perspective than you. Don't ever think that she sees things your way. Red pill women will spout what you're saying, and just like that, when it suits them or they're dissatisfied with you, they'll throw you under the bus just as fast as a feminist.
Well,
Go ahead,
Steve,
Plutarch.
because you were saying it, and I was reminded who voted for immigration, opening the borders in the United States, women. In Europe, women. Okay, who voted for the family court system and all of the women? Who
Who aborts the children? Millions. Worse than all the wars pretty much combined.
way worse. Women
Who does this?
kill in a month what it took us men a year to achieve in the worst war in terms of deaths per day fought in human history. That'd be World War II. That is, I mean, they do it in a month. They do like 200,000 a month or something like that across the world. It's insane. The numbers are massive. And they voted for the ability to do that.
You know what? Takes kind of a foolhardy or don't give a shit attitude for me to say that women are our problem. Do you think I hate women? No, I don't. Women are doing what women do. And I've learned that the hard way. Twice. That doesn't mean I hate women. They're just acting according to their nature. But yes, they are the enemy. Does that mean I have to be mean to women? No. Does it mean I have to say no to women? Yeah. Does it mean I don't buy into their bullshit? Yeah. Does it mean I would never have a woman in my life again? No, I would. I don't hate them, but they are my enemy in mass. Does that make me an evil person?
No. Makes you a realist. That's reality.
What did Plutarch?
Yes.
What did Sun Tzu say about battles? And if you don't know who your enemy is,
Oh yeah, it's the 4-part construction. If you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will lose all of your battles. If you know yourself but not your enemy, you will lose. You'll win half your battles. If you know yourself and know your enemy, you will win all battles. Like that's
okay.
the short version of it. And yes, I have actually read all of Sun Tzu's The Art of War. I don't know how many people realize that it's actually written in verse. It's this very old document. Fascinating stuff in there. Like I could go on a lengthy diatribe about I've been throwing tomatoes at a few Twitter influencers on another account of mine who are pretty obviously MSS psyops. I mean, it's just gotten bad. So, and of course, one of the ones I'm throwing tomatoes at is a woman, and it's okay. But even there, that's an interesting one too, Steve, because this woman got absolutely one-shotted by a dumbass AI video of an airplane, and I'm looking at it going, how can you not tell this video's fake? You're supposedly trying to sell yourself as this expert on geopolitics and military hardware and military geopolitics. And you can't recognize an AI video of an airplane, of a MiG-21. I'm sorry. I think what it is she's she's an actual real person. But she's paid by, it's a paid op. But women are so easily taken. They are so easily bamboozled. It's just like, what do we do? So we have somebody in the chat who wants to come up, but if you guys haven't been following the chat conversation,
No, I haven't.
and you know what he wants to talk about is one of them sensitive subjects. So I'm going to put it up to you guys if you want to bring him up or not.
Well, what's a sensitive subject? If we're going to talk about it, you might as well mention what it is.
I'll put it up there for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, we can handle that delicately.
Okay. I'm going
We'll
to put
try
the
it.
link. I'll put the link in here in the chat. Then. There, links in the chat.
Make sure he shows his face on camera. We don't want any dick pictures.
Yeah,
Yep.
we don't need that.
Well, you know what? If we're gonna get into this, I'm gonna take a pit stop first, so I can.
There you go. He's a good, real person. There you go.
All right, we got a real person.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll add to stage. This is Tom Luongo. He's the guy in the middle. You know who he is, Plutarch?
Yep.
Okay, so he writes a newsletter, a financial guy. He's out there on the blogs a lot, or video. He's interviewed a lot. So this video is what does it say? Why I cut off my mom to save my daughter. So let's see what he has to say.
I'm going to tell you, though, these are hard-won lessons for me personally and for my wife as we've gone through it'll be 34 years in February.
Wow.
Raising one kid, even though we wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
But circumstances were what they were. And the one kid that I have, and she's amazing, was a miracle for a variety of reasons. And it's weird just at this. This is a difficult thing. So don't think that we have wisdom because we came out to shoot with it because we just happen to be older. Like, I had a great dad. I think back on it now. I had a great dad. I had a crazy mom. Right. And my dad spent most of his life providing, killing himself, providing for his family while managing the crazy in his household.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were silent generation. They were not boomers. Right. I'm the youngest of four. My oldest sisters are boomers. My brother was born in 1963, and he's that beginning Gen X. My sisters were born in the mid-50s. There was 56 and 57.
Yeah.
Or 57 and 58. My parents got married in 56. So they were born in 57, 58. And I'm born in 68. Like, I'm the oops kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they treated me like the oops kid. They didn't. They did their very, very best. But I grew up in the 70s, in the stagflationary environment of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with that depression mindset with depression era parents, right? Who also grew up in a depression. Dad was born in 28, mom was born in 33. We're only second generation Italian immigrants. Like, all my grandparents came over on the boat, right? Yeah. Over 100 years ago. And so I have a very different perspective from a lot of other people of my age cohort because of the family circumstances. My dad was the youngest of 11 and I'm the youngest of his 4, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, no, it really is. I mean, my paternal grandparents were dead 12 years before I was born, or 12, 15 years before I was born. They worked themselves to death to raise 11 kids. And then they both died in their late 50s, mid to late 50s, early 60s, and they were done. And, I have multiple uncles who, came home with PTSD from World War II. And they all drank and smoked themselves into heart attacks in their late 50s. My dad was a cop. He threw a clot at 65, was dead in 3 minutes. Like, and I'm 25 years old. Like that's the world I've grown up in. That's the imprinting, right? I grew up helping my dad fix his commuting car on the weekends because he couldn't drive anything decent because he was a cop in the South Bronx. So he had to drive beaters
Yeah.
55 miles to the South Bronx there and back every day. And we spent most of my weekends growing up with, him keeping the cars running, trying to figure out how he's going to get to work on Monday.
So that
Okay. Anything? Does this bring up anything you want to talk about?
Well, I heard a key word in there that I was keying on. Don't know if it's the one you're thinking of, but
I'm not thinking of anything in particular, but go ahead.
okay. Well, because he brought up inflation and how he grew up in the inflationary environment. And if he was born in 68, he very much did. Most of that inflation was late 70s, so he would have been 8, 9, 10, 12 when all that was going on. He would have known it. He would have felt it. Oh, God. Okay. So I was chatting with my dad recently, and I mentioned to him kind of offhandedly about how on FinTwit, there's this growing, I'm not going to call it a consensus, but there's this growing view that government causes inflation. Specifically, now their view right now is that government taxes cause inflation. So you raise taxes. A key point that people need to understand is that there's absolutely no mathematical way to pass any tax that a business is not going to pass through to its customers. Okay. All taxes ever devised are passed through to the customer, period. There's just no way to do anything else. So every time you raise a tax or you add a tax on a business, you are raising prices for the business's customers. If let's say your state has a sales tax, most states in this country do. Okay, well, that business is paying sales tax on a bunch of stuff it buys. It could be anything from paper clips to $100,000 machines. Okay, you pay a sales tax on that. Well, the more the state raises the tax, the more the business has to raise the tax to cover the prices. That is FinTwit's view of things. My dad had a more nuanced view, and he's about, I mean, he's a bit young. He's a bit older than Tom Longo here. And but he also grew up during the Great Inflation. And what he said was, it's only inflationary if the government spending produces less value or is actively anti-value than the cost of building that thing. Okay. So let's say you're going to build, I don't know, the interstate system. You've got I-95 or something like that over there for all you East Coasters. I believe it's I-95. And then you've got I-5 on the West Coast, and you've got I-10 down in the South and I-90 up in the North. And then that's our interstate grid system. And what that interstate system, and Steve, you drive trucks, you know what the interstate system has done for moving goods around the country. The interstate system was an objective good, an objective economic good for the country. And it has paid out in economic goods far more than it costs to build the thing. It was expensive, but the economic good many, many times. And we were kvetching about a local infrastructure project where they actually came out and said, as part of their and they were proud of this. Well, we are only going to add 1 minute of backup times to your commute as at this project. If the project's only going to add a minute of commute time, well, it won't be a minute, as my daddy was just kind of like, yeah, it won't be a minute. It'll be more than that. But then he started listing all the downs. Go ahead.
No, I'm just listening. Sorry.
Okay. And then you start listing all the downstream effects of it. Oh, well, you have to wait in traffic longer. That's less time you can be doing productive work. You have to buy more gasoline, and they really don't want to talk about that because, they don't want you. But at the same time, states have gasoline taxes. So they want you to buy more gasoline because that increases the gas tax. But his general point is that they are spending, I don't know how many millions of dollars on this project, but they're spending all these millions of dollars to make everyone's life worse. And they make it worse in ways that cost money. And we call that inflation. But the business now has to, Steve, do you pay for the gas in your truck, or does your business pay for the gas in the truck?
Oh, definitely the business pays for it. Because I get back and I put on, I'll call it 60 gallons every day.
Okay.
Times what? Well, it's a little less than $4, but let's just call it $4.
So if the state
times 4, I'm not gonna pay that. Because they don't pay me enough to pay for the diesel.
Right. So the business pays a gas tax on the diesel. I don't know about North Dakota specifically, but in a lot of states they do. But the business also buys the gas. So what the state has effectively done is said, we are going to raise the prices of shipping goods. It's going to take longer. You're going to spend more gas doing it. Okay. And so what does your business do? You've got to buy the gas, right? What does it do?
You know what? Here's how my company charges their customers a delivery fee. What goes into that delivery fee? My wages, the leasing of the trucks. So there's a lease cost. It could be purchase depreciation, but in this case, it's leasing. The leasing of the trailers, the maintenance of the trucks and trailers, the fuel cost. There's insurance. There probably could be some hidden taxes in there. So they roll it all in, get a cost, and put a profit margin on that. Boom, that's what they charge. And if any of those costs go up next time around when they increase their fees, it's going to be in there. It's like Prego. It's in there.
So the reason I bring this up is because I think, we one of the things we love talking about here is misplaced animosity. It is beneficial to the people who are at the top of the system, the power brokers, whoever you want to call them, for you to not understand where the problem actually is.
I would actually say the problem's even different than that. The problem is when the money supply grows by a bigger amount than the economy grows. In other words, if the economy is growing by 2-3%, the money supply should grow by 2 or 3%. If the government is deficit spending, basically creating money and pumping it into the system, you have more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. So you have to keep the amount of money you're pumping into the system, you're creating every year, similar with the size of the economy. I don't know that that's been happening.
Steve, I want to stop here because Andrew's got a couple that get to the core of the problem. You've got a couple
Okay.
comments here.
Plutarch and I might see differently on this.
Yeah, we might on this one. So Andrew, he says,
Okay.
one thing I remember about the late 70s was the out of control infrastructure projects that were slow, over budget, and of dubious benefits. Yes, just like now. And he also says money supply or debt. And this is a key point that I want to get to. I can show you the math. The Federal Reserve does print money. All of the money they print goes exclusively into one place, and that is financial markets. End of discussion, pure and simple. Why? Because the only people who are allowed to buy federal government debt are the primary dealers. And the primary dealers are what now? Banks. So all money created by the Federal Reserve goes to one place and one place only. That is the financial system. However, and that's roughly 20% of money that's created in any given time frame. 80% of money is created by private debt. And the reason I say this is key is because it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Okay, Steve, your company charges a fee if the cost of gasoline goes up, either by the cost of gasoline going up directly or by you having to burn more to drive the same route because the state did a stupid, okay, your company's going to charge more. Well, in the United States, we buy our stuff primarily on credit, which is a synonym for debt. And in that process, the banks create the money. So your credit card doesn't have money on it. You swipe it, the bank creates the money and gives it to the person you're buying from. That is private debt creation in a nutshell. So when the government raises taxes, it requires that people create more debt per purchase, which increases the velocity of money creation.
Hey, I know another way I can cause this to happen. I can go buy a house for $400,000.
Worth actually
Put down-
200.
Yes,
Yes.
probably, but I can put down 40 grand of my saved money, and I can go to the bank and get a loan because they got money just sitting there waiting to loan to me, right, Plutarch?
No, they don't, but okay.
Oh wait, where do they get the money from? They're gonna they're gonna give me $360,000.
That's where they create it, Steve.
Oh, they're creating it. Wow.
That's where they create it,
Now,
right there.
if I couldn't get a
just said it.
30-year mortgage and I couldn't pay that amount of money wouldn't be created. So, when Donald Trump says we're going to have 50-year mortgages, is he encouraging inflation and the creation of more money?
Absolutely, he is.
Yeah.
And a lot of
And housing prices, they keep going up.
Yes, exactly, Nick. The purpose of the 50-year mortgage is to keep housing prices high and going higher. That is the only purpose of it.
Damn, is Donald Trump, is he secretly from Minnesota? Because this sounds like he's shooting himself in the foot by lowering the birth rate, by pretending to save people, by creating the 50-year mortgage, and then fewer young people can buy houses, so they're going to delay having children. Is this called shooting yourself in the foot?
Usury, but yeah. Curse on the 50-year mortgage. Absolutely right, Mr. Dugan.
Yes. The 50-year mortgage is pure evil. In my opinion, the 30-year mortgage is evil. I have actually kind of decided that I won't buy a house at all until they're cheap enough that I can get a 15-year fixed. And even then that means that the house has to be really cheap because of the way the payment structures work, you actually end up paying more per month, even on a house that is less than what you can buy on a 30-year. I mean,
sure you do. So you're going to have to put down, let's say you buy a modest house. We'll just throw out 400,000.
It's even worse.
You'll
Sorry.
put down 100, maybe 150,000. And I'm just ballparking numbers. So you're gonna finance $250,000 over 15 years. Yeah, that's still gonna be a pretty hefty payment.
Oh,
It is.
the smoking, I think it's Patriot. He must have changed his name. It's a smoking nerd now, but it used to be Smoking Patriot. I remember, like when I was selling cars, like, wait, you can do a 7-year loan now? They're like, yeah, 84 months is becoming more and more normal. And then I was hearing about 10-year loans. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's even more normal now. Now there's a proposed 15-year car loan. These are
Hey,
even more depreciating assets than housing. I mean,
Yes.
when I
housing's
was a
technically
young
not.
adult, it was a 3-year car loan.
Good night, man. And so
Well,
they can keep charging these $100,000 car car sales for
right.
15 years, and the vehicle's probably going to
Well,
last half that.
okay,
okay.
now go ahead.
I was just the most commonly sold car that you would want a 10 to 15 year car loan on is going to be the Ford F-150. And we recently did a video this year where we went through the recalls on Fords. Yeah, Ford has more recalls than the next 10 car companies combined. Yeah, right. I'm going to spend $100,000 on a car that's going to fly apart, and Ford's going to say, "Yeah, fuck you. We're not fixing that." Right.
So I want to change the subject back to the other things Tom Long was talking about. Number
Okay.
one, he's a little 5 years, 6 years younger than me. He had a crazy mother. Oh, gee, crazy women. Has this been going
Yeah,
on forever? Yep.
I had a conversation with my dad about
Okay.
his dad, and then my dad went through it too, and I went through it too. And we're like, man, what the
Okay.
hell's wrong?
You say women are worse today? Yeah, maybe in quantity, but individually, not really. So then you heard his father worked himself to death. Oh, died at 65 shortly after he retired. His uncles went to war, had their shit. You heard how his parents grew up, the age of his parents and his experience. Okay, so Tom, all of us are a product of our upbringing. It just goes into our mind. It's what we're made of. Our history is who we are. So, your family history stays with you. That means all these childless or fatherless children growing up, that's part of their makeup. You cannot fix this after it's fucked up. Every person has to live with their family history, their life experiences historically, and they have to make sense of those. And and these women who, we throw on the word, they're getting run through. Okay, well, I've said in the past, women live with IPA guilt, infidelity, promiscuity, and abortion. That's part of their history. They have to deal with that. It's part of who they are. So, you know what? When you try to meet somebody and understand them, you can't just understand them in the present. You have to understand who they are, what they experienced, and where they came from. And we seem to forget that.
Okay.
Do we forget it, or is it just a shit ton of work and we don't want to do it?
Just remember,
Probably that.
as my grandfather told my dad, and my dad told me, I told Steve this morning, Or was it yesterday when you called?
Yesterday.
That was yesterday. All right. I put it on Twitter. He's talking. My dad told me about a story that his dad told him when he was a little younger than I am. He says, "Son, some women are just have the peanut buttered legs." I said, "What do you mean by that? What's peanut butter legs, Dad?" They like to spread them. There ain't no stopping that, especially in modern society. That's the nature of many women. They just like to spread their legs, especially if there's no consequences.
So what I told Nick was
Well,
something got lost here. Your dad's telling you that now.
I'm like, why didn't you tell me this before,
Your
Dad?
your grandfather was of the silent generation. Your dad's a
Yep.
boomer. He told the boomers.
Yep.
Boomers ignored that. And the boomers never passed on the information. And the world is in a shitty place. The US is in a shitty place. And now, guess what? The young men are rediscovering these truths without being told. Now, if the truth had been passed down, maybe we could have avoided this mess.
Yep. But no, we bought into the lie that women are sugar, spice, and everything nice, and these perfect little angels. And how dare us ever think that they're 304s? An unrestrained woman growing up without a father, it has peanut butter legs, almost guaranteed.
Unfortunately, I think that's true.
And a leopard don't change its spots.
Well, I would take it. I would say this, Andrew. I would say what he says. All women are like that throughout time. It's never going away. Last week I said Elena is a particularly pliable teenager. But a functioning adult, she is not. Women are not functioning adults. This doesn't mean that they, don't reach the age of majority. This doesn't mean that they cannot function at all. It just means that they cannot function as an adult. They don't do rational. They don't do thinking. Elena, I have to push her to think. And you can tell she's working for it.
This is
not natural.
This is a real battle right now in the church. In the churches. Because they're pushing back on this hard. Oh, yes, women are just as capable as men, but they're different. Come on, guys. It's usually guys who are spouting this crap. No, they are different. And throughout the history, Thomas Aquinas said women basically lack the same reasoning ability that men have. The
There's
Bible,
that IQ curve.
Corinthians. Man is the glory of God, women is the glory of man. Okay, there's a hierarchy here. Don't put women up on the same level as men, because then if the husband is to the wife as Christ is to the church, and the wife can boss around the husband, then the church can boss around Christ. And if the church is made up of women, then women can tell Christ what to do.
Abomination. Kill it. Kill it with fire.
Why do you think a lot of those churches are full of women? These name it and claim it churches.
Oh God.
And what's going on with those churches right now. I saw some videos this week. The Assemblies of God Church, which is one of the most emotional denominations out there. They went from, I don't know, something like 4 million members in 2005 or something like that. They're down to, I don't know, 2.5 now. They are losing members in droves. I also saw another video. The Southern churches, in the Bible Belt, Baptist, whatever, they are actually losing members. People are stopping going to church because this crap of feminism and equality and social justice and wokeness and emotional crap, it's just not resonating with people, and they're saying no, I'm not into this, and they're just wandering away. So the churches right now are losing population. The Catholic Church, it's been somewhat steady to a bit of a decline. So the same crap is happening there. Maybe not to quite the same extent, but my conclusion, and I'd have to do a lot more study to actually say this definitively, but my feeling, I'll just call it that. My feeling is that the more emotional based religious churches are losing members faster than the more liturgical churches, which would be Catholic and mainline Protestant, which have also declined dramatically.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the data supports your theory. I know that somebody, people are crowing about. So you'll often hear, oh, but the Catholic or Orthodox or Protestant, we're growing, and then they put this big number up there, and then there's a little star, and it's like, well, we're growing in this one demographic, and it'll be something like under 30 women. Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, both of you guys are Presbyterian. Is the
Well, I've seen in the
Presbyterian church shrinking if you discount all the libtard rainbow Presbyterians? For those that are
depends on the church. I think it's a slight increase, but not significant enough to the increase of population over time.
okay,
But
so they're kind of maintaining, kind of like the
yeah,
Catholic Church, but the more evangelical are not maintaining right now.
no. And what's interesting, the churches that I frequent, it's a weird dynamic. In most churches, it's heavily female, but the ones that I will attend, they tend to be a lot more men and usually a lot of children.
Nick, are you describing your selection bias for the internet?
Oh yeah,
What did you say? More men and more children?
yep.
Oh, so earlier I said put the men in charge and you won't have to worry about the birth rate problem. Now, you've just provided anecdotal evidence that that's true.
This is good. Yeah, he understands this very well. Presbyterian church growth is basically rearranging deck chairs on Titanic. It's still sinking, but people keep switching denominations back and forth, or PCA to OPC to some other thing, and then back, and then depending on the town they go to, you know, son moves away. Well, they don't go to church. Oh, one comes back to church, has a family. You know,
Yeah.
So
It's
so nothing real is happening. They just can't.
no.
They just can't decide which thread of Presbyterianism that they like.
And they're all in the midst of sinking.
Right.
The same problems exist everywhere, but some are much worse.
Well, Shu brought one up, and he actually tagged Nick and I on Twitter on this one, and so we can bring it up. Eastern Orthodox converts ratio, I think converts ratio, I think is 6-to-1 men to women, and these priests sell these young men marriage all day long in that sausage fest. Yeah. He posted a video. I could load it on YouTube, but I didn't. Sorry, Shu, I didn't have it ready to go for this one. I didn't have the video ready to go, but Shu's tweet, he says, even modern Orthodox Christianity has fallen. Discussing marriage, the fall, and pertaining to men, Father Moses says, buck responsibility, toxic masculinity, blame other people, men's egos, men's selfishness, gentleness, and calmness. Shu, you'll have to correct me, but I believe those are takes out of the video you linked. If that's what modern Eastern Orthodoxy is pushing, what you're really telling me is that they are about 20 years behind your mainline Protestant churches, maybe 15 years behind your Catholic churches. Like, they're getting there.
They're not my version of women. Obey your husband. Women, you need to put out for your husband. I don't give a crap about your excuses. Don't come to me about blah, blah, blah. Wear a head covering. Shut up. Go take care of your kids. Stop sending them to daycare. Clean your house instead of gossiping all day. Uh-oh. You wonder why I didn't last long? There you go.
Nick, you didn't read the right parts of the Bible, and you just didn't understand them correctly. Don't you know? You are the one who's theologically wrong here.
Yeah, except everybody before like 1950 agreed with me.
Well, yes. Okay, Shu. So you pulled those words and phrases out of that video, and yes, he is one of the better ones. That's where we are. As I've said, there's an Eastern Orthodox church near me that literally has pride flags in the windows. Yeah, tell me more about how Eastern Orthodoxy is going to save us.
Oh, and there's that girl we interacted with that her priest allowed her to have
God.
rainbow flag in her X thing because
God,
she's
yes,
trying to
that.
support that community. I'm like, oh, so you really don't believe the truth. You think supporting them is more important than your commitment to Christ. Okay.
She didn't like that.
That just explains women's view of things. They want to be nice and support. Whereas in the beginning, I said men's view is if you love somebody, you're going to challenge them when they're wrong.
Yep.
That is male love. Nope. I'm going to challenge you on that because if I don't, you are in error. We can debate this, but if I don't, I'll just be nice to you and let you persist in your error, and that'll be your road to hell. Therefore, I'm fine with you going to hell. How the hell is that loving?
Yeah, really loving your neighbor there.
So, but you know what? I guess I have the same problem Nick does. We haven't had a good woman explain the Bible to us.
Oh, you mean my ex-wife who thought because she grew up in a church and her dad was an elder, knew the Bible so much more than me. And I'm just this evil misogynist, just, saying, no, the Bible says this. No, the Bible says this.
Yeah, well,
But yeah. And everybody agrees with me until like you're born or 20 years before
Nick,
you're born.
just because you studied theology and became an ordained pastor doesn't mean you know the Bible better than a woman. Come on.
And Steve, I still think 2 plus 2 equals 4, no matter how I feel about it. If my feelings are hurt enough, 2 plus 2 must equal 5, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But Steve, I can build a bridge, and my equations say that 2 plus 2 equals 5 because that is my truth. And so my bridge equations, 2 plus 2 is 5. So that's how we're going to build this bridge. Steve, how's that going to work? How's that going to work for them?
I don't know exactly. We seem to have some examples in recent history about bridges designed by women.
and the China ones, those are great.
Oh,
Well, some of the bridges designed by women are no longer there, and they fell down. But you know what? They looked so
It was the evil patriarchy,
innovative
Steve.
and wonderful, and she had a feeling it was going to be great.
well, I'm sure it looked very pretty. I'm sure that it was so pretty that it made her feel something. I'm sure it did.
It was the bridge supported in futuristic air.
Well, so if you guys haven't noticed, we're kind of doing a speed run through all the topics that we've covered this year. And Elena in the chat did point out that we did a show this year on a woman crashing a plane. And she's a total DEI hire, really should not have been in on that flight deck. But it was a classic case of, well, in her case, the data says that she froze, but how did we build a system that lets a woman get in front of a $50 million jet with 75 people behind it? I don't remember how many were actually on the plane, but and we can't figure out if they're going to freeze or not. I can figure out if I could design a training system that would find out if people are going to freeze in 5 minutes. It's not that hard. You just have to have the will to do it, and then tell that person, no, you can't do this.
No, we're not going to allow you to do that. And I'll tell you why. Because it would throw out more women than men. So clearly your system would be discriminatory, and we can't have that.
Well, biology is discriminatory then, but okay.
Sure. But you know what? We can stop you. We can't stop biology.
True. I mean, sad, but true. Well, so what you're really saying is we can demand that you ignore biology because we can't actually change the biology.
That seems to be what's going on.
So ignore reality because you don't like it and you can't change it.
That is kind of what they're doing on a whole host of things, isn't it, Nick? Like you've got the Christians ignoring basic biblical observations.
Well, they've ignored the light of nature, natural law for most of the 20th century, and the newer generation, like the millennials and younger, have kind of rediscovered natural law and light of nature, and we're like, no, and everybody believed this up until like yesterday, and and then all the gatekeepers are getting real angry. The boomers are like, we control the administration of the church, we're going to kick you out, and we're like, we don't care.
Okay. Well, okay, you kick us out, so what are we going to go do? Well,
keep doing the same thing we've been doing.
Well, you go start your own church. Start just, maybe if you don't start an official church, you just, a group of dudes get together, start reading the Bible. And honestly, Nick, I'm starting to think that the church is kind of wishing it could go back a few hundred years to before literacy was common. Because if you actually just sit down and read the Bible, you will come away with all the isms. Like the Bible is a radicalizing document. And I suspect that a large chunk of what has been done to us and the church over the past 150 years is specifically because it is such a radicalizing document.
Plutarch.
Yes.
Treading on dangerous ground here.
I'm used to that, but okay.
You might become Catholic. Because, damn, you know what? The Catholics never really promoted the lay people to read the Bible. They just told them what the Bible said. They didn't ban literacy, but, it was the Protestants where, here's the Bible. You individually need to read the Bible and you can interpret it yourself. That's a Protestant idea. So if you are saying literacy maybe wasn't so great and you can be a Christian without being able to read the Bible, damn, you sound like ancient Catholic here.
That's not quite the direction I was going.
No, I know, but
the direction
I'm having fun.
I know the direction I was going was more. We can read the Bible, and when you read it, you go, "Wow, why didn't I ever hear this in my church, Catholic or otherwise?"
I know. Yeah, that's a valid point. But my point is also valid.
You know why?
When you let people read it and interpret it on their own, they're going to come up with all kinds of wacky ideas.
That's true.
Some might come with wacky ideas, and that's to their own destruction. They interpret it to their own destruction. That's in the Bible. People do that. That's why you need to have qualified teachers to teach and that are not afraid of teaching what it teaches. And most of it can generally be understood, Some things are more difficult than others in the Bible, but on the whole, the basic things can be understood.
Well, okay.
The problem is when you start reading the Bible and those basic things, they don't like those basic things. And the Bible is like what Andrew Dugan says, the Bible is ultimately red pill. Oh, no, we didn't want you to read that about women. Oh, no, we didn't want you to read
Nick,
that about civil magistrates. No.
Nick, I have a question for you. And this is a thought that has been percolating in the back of my head for quite some time. And I've talked about this a little bit before. The church primarily existed before common literacy, and it did a lot of explanation, as Steve was talking about, right? And so, it really
read the epistles out loud.
Right. But in the era of common literacy, where we can read the Bible on ourselves, is the church as a organization that exists to tell people what the Bible says even necessary anymore? Because I'll be honest, I have had a lot more deep insight into what the Bible's actually saying by just asking you questions. Okay.
Yes, the church is necessary. Christ established it. It's not an accident. We're going through what I call a dark age.
Well,
we're going through a dark age in the church, and people don't want to recognize it. Well, the church is still important, and they dispense the sacraments, and I still like partaking the Lord's Supper. I'm not sure if I'm technically allowed in a park, but I don't really care.
Well, okay, but here's my question. Is there so the church did this reading function and this without the common literacy, the only way to do it was to get it across, was to read it. What if, instead of focusing so much on the concept of the readings, there's still parts and functions of the church that are absolutely outside of the purview of what I'm talking about here, that are still good and necessary. But this idea of having to have a pastor explain the Bible, to get up there and explain basically his view of the Bible, has been pretty thoroughly hijacked. And I'm wondering if that's a part that we need to set aside and say, that particular method no longer works for us, is there some other method where maybe it moves from less oratory to more conversational back, Q&A type stuff? And I
Well,
have
they
no idea
typically
how this.
had that.
What?
My church had this practice. Problem was the women could ask questions, which I didn't appreciate. They derail everything. That's when they need to ask their husbands at home. But in typical, Protestant churches going back hundreds of years, you have a sermon, you read the text, you explain the text, you explain the background of the text, where it is in the context of the epistle or gospel or the history, break down the argument of the text in its language and say this is what it's conveying, this is how it's historically understood throughout the history of the church. I not every preacher does that. I generally do, just to show that I'm not trying to be innovative. I'm trying to rest in a saying, look, there's Christians that have gone before me. I'm not trying to shill around new crap. And then I'll apply it. I'll illustrate it and apply it to the situation. And usually after church, there's a Q&A where the congregation can ask questions about the sermon and the text.
You see, I think that's necessary. You need the pastor, the leader, because you need an authority to say, here's what it means. Now, that guy can twist it, he can get it wrong, he cannot explain it properly. Yeah, that's a problem. But if you leave it up to the people to interpret it themselves, you have bigger problems. And it's the pastor's job to know church history. Hundreds, thousands of years. He damn well better know what Thomas Aquinas said. And what that argument was, and what that was established, and then even back to Augustine and the other previous church fathers. Some of these doctrines have been settled for 1,500 years, 1,800 years. You damn well better know that. No, we can't reinvent and say, oh, I found something new. Really? Bullshit. Right, Nick?
Usually somebody finds something new, usually somehow ends up in a heresy.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, I guess I'm not going to say, I'm not saying that churches are bad. I'm just looking at how men are reacting to what's been done to the church. And I'm wondering if maybe part of the dark times for the churches is that it does move away from a systematized church to more of a, well, weren't the most early church gatherings actually what we would call house church these days? They met. Was that who was it? It was one of the epistles.
Yeah.
They did
okay,
that. Like, it wasn't
when the church was
systematized.
persecuted, it was underground. It was systematized because the apostles set up churches. They weren't public places because the church wasn't legal for the first couple 200-300 years. So yeah, they were underground, but it was systematized. It was organized, but it wasn't a public edifice. So yeah, it was a house church, but that didn't mean that individual people could set up their house churches. Remember,
right.
St. Paul's letters to the churches were letters of correction and admonishment and saying, no, here's what the truth is. So no, not anybody could just open up a house church and have their own thing. No, it didn't work that way.
Right. I get that. But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is as the church has become not church, for lack of a better term, and basically being pushed, are Christians being Bible-believing Christians being pushed out of the church, or these churches being pushed underground? I mean, like,
yes and yes.
Right. And so I guess what I'm saying is that is there value in going back to older methods and saying, well, we aren't allowed to participate in your organized religion, your capital R religion, because you don't like what we have to say, because, as Andrew's saying here, it is the church has changed to using the Bible to justify postmodern liberalism. I think this is absolutely true. And the church is an institution. And when it comes to institutions, you have one of two choices. And we talked about this at the beginning. You can try to change the institution from the inside. You're going to spend decades on that project. Or you can set up alternative, or basically a parallel institution. And that parallel institution would necessarily have to grow up out of that sort of house church mentality.
Well, Plutarch, there's one thing that's worse than organized religion.
Okay.
Disorganized religion.
Oh, like Quakers? Quakers. Okay.
Well, okay. So, but as you said, here's what I'm saying. Okay. So you have guys like Nick. They're not allowed to meet. I mean, Nick's not allowed to meet, would not be allowed to start a group in any of the Napark churches. And we
Nor
know
would
that.
I want to.
Right.
Nor would I want to.
But could Nick start a local gathering in his house? Well, of course he could. And I would argue that would be he would still be following the systematized, probably knowing Presbyterian. But you see what I'm saying? You have to go build a separate institution off the side.
Okay, here's my problem.
Michael Spengler did this. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Catholic, so I'm not going to do that. But if I wasn't Catholic, but kind of the same mindset, would I attend Nick's church if he started one? Maybe. But I'd first ask Nick, who's your authority? Who has authority over you? If he says, my authority is the Bible and Jesus is my authority, not going there, Nick.
Yeah, God's my authority. The Bible's the authority.
I know that, but unless you got someone in authority over you.
So who's the Pope's authority?
Well, you know what? There's one exception in the Catholic world. Yeah, okay, the Pope's accountable. And he's kind of
he's not.
Up a lot.
How is he accountable like any of the other pastor?
But at least there's a hierarchy. There's a structure. And as bad as it is, it would be worse without it.
Okay, that was some fun red meat to throw into the middle of the chat.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's supposed to be presbytery, but there's no functional all the presbyteries, except even the one I was a part of, I generally like the guys, but where the hell were they when I was thrown under the bus? They encouraged me to resign. Okay, fine. Where were they when I was thrown in jail? Where were they when my family was being destroyed? And I was appealing, saying, "Look, they're giving my kids communion when they haven't been approved to give communion. They're letting them go to this church that's evil, and they're stole my kids. And you gave my ex-wife spiritual authority over my children without talking to me while I was a minister in good standing. Yeah, it ought to be presbytery."
Okay. You know what? We're debating this. What could be a good structure for the church? Presbytery, people, the elders, which are the people, men, or should it be a priesthood, a hierarchy, or should it be church?
Well, I think
we're going back and forth, and we're saying, "Damn, in our modern world, nothing seems to be working for church governance to keep it on track."
I think the Bible gives us the right order. However, I can't find a good order that's actually functioning as it ought to be. That's the frustration.
Right. That's what I said, kind of.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
spun it a little differently, but we're in agreement there.
Yeah. In fact, you just have a lot of
It's a
ministers
problem
just
everywhere.
getting fat off the flock, like in Ezekiel 34.
And yes, we know it's not all the ministers getting fat off the flock, but there's enough of, and honestly, I was reading a Twitter post and they were talking about something else completely. They were talking about the immigration thing and the how young men have been dispossessed of their essentially right to work. But they were pointing out how all the older men managed to hold on to their positions in these corporations and whatnot by basically co-signing on the destruction of the younger men. And I do wonder if there's a lot of that happening right now. It's almost like there was this generation that was so they were willing to sell out their own children, and they were willing to do it anywhere. The church, the economy, politics. But it was this idea of, yes, and to the pastors I would say this: yes, you might not be getting fat off your flock, but your unwillingness to stand up to those who are, in the name of, well, don't rock the boat, or the presbytery says that they're good people. You
need
are
to tone it down.
right. Right, exactly. I would argue that, okay, you are tacitly co-signing these pastors' bad behavior. Your refusal to stand up and to say that's not okay is in part why they have done it, they do it now, and they will continue to do it, because they know that no one's going to stand up and say, you are, I don't know what the term is for an apostate pastor, but you are committing evil against the people you claim to be leading.
That'd be a heretic.
A heretic. Okay. Okay. So you are a heretic. You, Mr. Pastor or Mrs. Pastor, that abomination there, you are doing evil to your own flock for your own benefit. And if these pastors won't step up and say that, you are implicitly providing cover for those that do. And that's why they continue doing it. They already know they own your balls. They know they own your balls. Because they will hit you with, well, you didn't say anything about it before. Why are you suddenly making a stink about it now? Go ahead, Steve.
You know what? They're going to find out the hard way that what God says is actually true. So if the husband is the head of the wife, she's to submit in everything. That means if he tells her to do something and it's actually sinful and she follows him and does it, she's obeying. And the repercussions are on him. It's under his authority, therefore he is responsible. Now, the same thing can be applied to these pastors. If they are misleading and people follow them, can you imagine what the consequences of that are when they have to answer for it? Nick, did you ever think, as a pastor, what the consequences of misleading the people were?
Absolutely.
That would weigh heavy on me.
Well, yeah, I'm watering down the word of God and I'm being a deceiver. That would be evil.
But a lot of these other guys are actually doing that. They seem to have no problem doing it.
Joel and Joel Osteen, Mark Driscoll. We can name some big names of guys who have gotten very fat off their flocks, but those are the big names. How many pastors are living off of their flocks even in small town America, preaching this stuff? It's everywhere, guys. Yeah, it's fun to pick on the Joel Osteens of the world, but this is everywhere.
Especially in every church that you could pretty much know, we're complementarian. Okay, when's the last time you actually told a woman to obey her husband? You told a woman to get off her stupid phone and social media, be happy with their husband, and, you know, maybe put out for their husband. When's the last time you ever did any of that? But how many stupid ass damsels in distress did you rescue because he was quote unquote abusive? And you believe the woman.
It's happening all the time. Yeah, okay, well, I think they're going to have to answer for that.
Well, Steve, future consequences, future post-life consequences don't seem to be enough of a deterrent for these people.
They should be for men. If men were actually behaved as men and understood what it means to be a man, they would do their duty, understand the authority they have, and the responsibility they have to God. I mean, a man, let's think about this. A man is not accountable to his wife. Maybe trivially he is, but that's only trivially. He's accountable to God. Women, do you want your man to be accountable to you or to be accountable to God?
Well, many women do want their man to be accountable to them, but
then you don't really respect that man. He has to be accountable to God because then he has a greater purpose. And you want to make yourself his purpose. Yeah. And then you get tired of the guy and you divorce him. Yeah, how's that working for you?
well, Steve, should is all fine and well, but I've never concerned myself too much with ideal states.
Okay.
I concern myself with what is, and I concern myself with how to make what is better. And right
Okay.
now, on this particular topic, yeah, they should be afraid, but they aren't. So if they're not afraid of non-temporal consequences, then I guess they need to be made afraid of temporal consequences.
Yeah. Oh, are you saying that if it's not working right, we need to force people to do what they should do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you believe in tyranny? You think
No,
tyranny is
that's not
required to get
true.
us out of this mess?
Tyranny, no.
Not tyranny.
Force, yes. They're different things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In a woman's mind, any use of force is tyranny.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's woman thinking. Right. No. Force can be simply denying people. No, you don't get that. No, you don't get my tithe. That goes somewhere else. No, but okay, you've got right. Okay, so you've got pastors getting, living off of their flocks. Cut them off. Okay. The Bible says to give 10%. Doesn't say you have to give it to your pastor specifically if he's being a dick.
No, the Bible never says you have to give 10% to the church. Actually, the Catholic Church and a lot of priests say the sermon once a year. Yeah, you should give 10%. You do not need to give 10% to the church. I suggest you give 5% here and 5% to other charities. Spread it around how you want. Now, you can agree or disagree. I'm just pointing out that no, churches, it does not mean you need to tithe 10% to that institution.
Correct.
It just means 10% belongs to God. And you need to give it to God, which means helping out your neighbor.
Back to these neighbors who need our help. Ordo
And it
Amoris is
usually
a
means,
thing.
okay, it's local neighbors. Yes, it
Yeah.
can actually be the starving Africans. Yeah, okay. That can be part of it, but it shouldn't be all of it.
Yeah, I think you should tithe 10% to the church. I'm that guy.
Okay, well, you know what?
We we
We
might
can
have
disagree. That's
to
fine.
disagree a little. I'm
Does it
just
have to be that particular church? Yeah, if you made that covenant, ideally, yes, but maybe you should leave that church if you can't tithe to it.
that could be a valid test. I won't argue with that as a test. I won't. It's a valid test. You know, but that means that there's I've come back to my original problem is that means most churches are invalid because they don't meet the
Pretty
test.
much.
Right. So
A lot of them are synagogues of Satan.
right. So, you know, we're back where we started again. Now, I will say that the purpose of covering these things is to help men understand that there are valid ways to test and to think about these things. There are good interpretations that don't require you to, you know, basically fork over your money to people who are trying to send you to hell. You know, like it's not a suicide pact. Oh, I can't say that word on YouTube. Damn it.
He did.
Too late.
Oh, well.
Too late.
Well, we discuss issues. We find problems. We don't come up with solutions.
Well, sometimes we
Certainly
do.
not. Sometimes we do, but not all the time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it because maybe we're a little bit closer to the solution. Maybe we're not even closer, but we're no worse off by having talked about it. But yet we've established some common experiences of, yeah, that's a problem. How do I deal with that? I don't know. I'm struggling. Oh, you're struggling too? Great. At least we're of like mind there.
Right. Which is a useful aspect of getting together and chatting about it. And Andrew, yes, you're right. And frankly, this vexes me so much. It is hard. The guys will tell you from our private chats how much this problem vexes me. You know, I'm always asking, well, is there any way we can make this simpler so that more people can understand it? As you know, start doing that. Are there ways we can come up with things where people win by doing nothing? You know, like because it's easy to convince people to do nothing. You know, that's kind of how, you know, I just
What we're encountering is it's not so much private issues or family issues. You can do what you want there, but a lot of these are system-wide issues.
mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
system itself is meant to destroy. That's the and enrich others.
And then I go back to looking at all the people on all the trad cons on the right going, oh, you're worried about the birth rate? Yeah, I am too, because I've actually studied demographics. Oh, you think that just browbeating men to have children is going to solve them? Yeah, no, it's not. You know, like and so it's like,
When has that ever worked?
what, browbeating men?
Yeah.
Well, they would say that
Well,
it
to have
has worked
children.
over the past couple of decades, you know, to convince men to give up their positions of power to women. Like I could make that argument.
Okay.
It works when men are weak.
Yes.
Young men are not that weak. anymore. So where's this going? You don't have to solve the problem. We don't have to solve the problem. In fact,
not on our own.
we are solving the problem by talking about it. Because now the understanding of young men is way different than when I was a young man. And
Okay.
the solution comes from their collective actions and by us just talking about things and the internet revealing male behavior and female behavior and women out there on social media. The longer a woman talks, the more information she's going to reveal. She's going to tell on herself. And it's happening in thousands, hundreds of thousands of occurrences. And men are finally getting it. Therein, somehow, the solution will come out of that by men acting on this new information, which is really old information.
Well, and there's another aspect here too. And all three of us exist at the edges of the system. We are not very well tied into it. And so it's hard for the system to exert direct pressure on us. And that's by design for all three of us, I think. But when we talk about things, that gives permission to other men who hear those things to think those thoughts. And then they cogitate on that for a while. And then they start saying their thoughts. And of course, the women start hearing them and reeing all over TikTok. And then men hear other men saying the same thoughts. And it turns out that there really is a natural order that men arrive at, even in the confines of their own minds and in the fucked up ways that we interpret things. We all seem to kind of sort of get generally where we need to go. And I talked about this probably earlier this year, late last year. There has actually been and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, either in the chat or YouTube, there have been a radical reduction in the variety of narratives that people talk about constantly and that they share, and there's actually been a great simplification of the narrative space as people start to go, as groups start to go, oh yeah, that's just a thing, and those groups are getting bigger. This is normal. I've talked about the coming crisis, and we've talked about generation, the Strauss and Howe's work. This is normal. I expected this, and in many ways, I view my job as to just get out and push, because one of the things that occurs in the crisis is the unified narrative of the next cycle is formed, and you're watching it being formed right now just by us talking about it. We give permission to other guys to also talk about it.
I did this tonight. I said, who is our enemy?
Yes.
Women. Women's way of thinking. Now, how many men have that's been at the back of their mind? Who's the enemy? Who is the enemy? Well, I said it. Now, is one or two more men going to say, yeah, women are our enemy? And then the idea grows from there. And now you can voice something. You cannot understand something until you can articulate it and put it to words. Now, if I'm wrong, people will just laugh at me and the idea will fall flat and go nowhere. If it resonates, it's true. So,
we all kind of know if you work
what
in
I
corporate
believe.
America,
You can decide. You can disagree with me. I don't care.
Okay, courts. Women are your enemy. They'll destroy you.
HR. God.
HR, corporate America. Enemy. Don't even talk to him. Don't even tell her she looks cute and ask for her number. Oh,
No. I mean, the only reason I survived in corporate America was I stayed the hell away from HR and anything that might have even resembled something that could drag me into having to talk to an HR person. I don't think I ever talked to an HR person once. Well, there was the small business where the HR person was also the payroll manager, and I had to give them some info. But it's like, okay, I talked to that one once and never talked to him again.
court system. Women are also your enemy. HR, police. Women are your enemy. I mean,
Especially,
in the
if you're involved in a divorce, the guardian ad litem, the social worker, is your enemy. The female judge is your enemy. Absolutely. Male judge is probably your enemy too, but not at the level that a female judge is.
women politicians are your enemy.
Yes.
They all pretty much become feminized and cheat on their husbands and remarry.
Do you know what the common factor here is? Any woman in a position of authority is your enemy. Now, if you're one of those
John
guys
Knox
who
was
says,
right.
yes,
John Knox
dear,
was right.
if you're one of those guys who says, yes, dear,
Oh,
and your wife wears the pants, guess what? Your wife is your enemy.
oh, that first blast of the trumpet against the monstrous regiment of woman was. Turns out John Knox was pretty much right. he he was not appreciated at the time. He caused a lot of trouble. You're causing trouble with uh, England and the new Queen Elizabeth, and you need to tone it down. Oh. Nah, he was right.
Well, I would say that this entire stream has been a giant exercise in why do the three of us still claim the title of red pill? You know, I know it's popular to go out there and say, oh, the red pill's just a way station or a gas station, get what you need and get back on the road. Okay, so I take what truth I need and leave the rest behind? No. This you leave the truth behind and you will become lost. And the fact that the red pill is just the place that has the most truth, that's just more of a it just is what it is. It's okay. That's just what we're calling the truth today. It doesn't mean anything beyond that. You cannot leave the truth behind. And right now, the best access to the truth on a whole range of issues stems our problems stem from women, so therefore we need to understand women, and the red pill has the best understanding of women. Ergo, the red pill is the closest to the truth.
In other areas, men are still developing new ideas, the most innovative ideas. Virtually all the innovative stuff. If you want content, logic, reason, stay up with things, you got to listen to men. There aren't that many women who are blogging about intellectual type matters. It's all, the stuff that women talk about is all relational and social this and that, and bickering back and forth, and it just bores me to tears. So you got to listen to men. And in the red pill and on relations between men and women, yeah, it's men you have to listen to. There are women out there who try to spout their own ideas. Usually they don't go very far. And there are a few women who kind of get on the same wavelength as men and say the same things as men are saying, and they actually become very popular. For instance, Pearl, and I like Pearl, and I listen to Pearl Davis quite a bit because she's entertaining, and I mostly agree with her. Is she saying anything new? No, she's regurgitating things that men have said, following in their footsteps. Yes, she does add a bit to it, but yeah, it's male thoughts.
All right.
Well, guys, have we?
It's the truth, and it's not going away. It's not dead. The truth isn't dead, and you can't just leave it behind. As much as the trad cons and everybody else wants men to get back on the trad con plantation of being exploited by the system. No, the truth is still there, and sorry, a lot of guys aren't interested in plugging their ears and holding their nose and plucking out their eyes.
At the end of the day, no amount of propaganda or propagandizing, and I'm speaking to you tradcons here, no voluminous amounts is ever going to overcome the truth, because the truth is the truth. You propagandizing men to marry the whores in your church is no different than Marxists propagandizing women to abort their babies. It's the same problem. Both actions are fundamentally against the natural order. They are against the truth. And you can say that and the trad conscious say, oh, well, at least we're not aborting babies. Well, okay, you're just causing babies to never be born at all.
And I'd argue that it still happens. It's just hidden away.
Yes. Oh, the abortion rates inside the church versus outside the church are indistinguishable from each other.
Absolutely, they are.
That's very sad.
Absolutely. There's been studies on that. It's like 1/3. I've heard it attributed a quarter to a third of Catholic women have had abortions. You think it's any different in any damn church denomination?
No.
I doubt it.
If anything, in your Protestant side churches, it's going to be way worse because the Catholic stigma on and public stigma on abortion is way stronger than it is in the Protestant church.
That's why the guilt of abortion will just eat a woman inside, and she doesn't know what to do with it. And it's just going to eat at her because she has to pretend to be holy. And then she's going to project all this guilt and venom on men. That's why getting divorced from a so-called Christian woman can actually be worse than and more catastrophic than getting divorced from a secular woman. Because a secular woman has no guilt motivation to project the blame on you, on the man.
Yeah, I think it was Pearl who put up the chart, and the least likely to divorce is a leftist feminist lawyer type chick, a white collar leftist feminist. Least
No
likely
kids having,
yeah, with no kids. That is the least likely woman to divorce. The most likely woman to divorce, the stay-at-home Christian mom. That's the data, folks. I hate it. but that's the data. Sorry. Telling men to come to that? Fuck you. Honestly. Go fuck yourself with a rusty knife, because that's what you deserve.
Why did it work in the past? The stay-at-home Christian mother. Why did she stay there? She was forced to stay there due to circumstances, because she would starve if she left. So women, I think historically, women didn't stay because they loved their man. They stayed because they had no choice. And
they had to respect the man that provided for them.
And he probably showed some authority over her. Like Nick was saying, then since she needed him and he had authority, she respected him. A woman will more likely have sex with a man she respects than a man she claims to love, which is an emotion and is a desire, and it can come and go.
This is why this was particularly devastating to the American black families 10 years prior to generally the white families. Was the welfare system is no, you don't have to marry the man. You can get on this child support thing, and you don't need a man to survive. We'll pay for everything. We'll give you housing, food stamps. I mean, it's still going on today. Same thing now is also come to all colors and races, in the US. It's colorblind now, but it destroys families, and they have no need to respect the man that works to provide and protect them, because they're always guaranteed a meal ticket by the government.
Again, I said this earlier. Most men are decent. Most men are good or good enough. It's like, I don't know what the number is, but it's like 80, 90%. Yes, that means there's 10, 15, 20% men who are nasty and who might hurt their women and children. Yes. Okay, nothing we can do about that. We can't make laws based on the exception that causes everyone to suffer, which is what the females have done, which is, again, why women are our enemy. You can't save everybody. Most men are good men.
The vast
At least given the opportunity to be, and the responsibility and the authority. Generally, it makes a good man, or at least good enough.
Oh, Steve, good enough means settling, and she doesn't want to settle no more.
The parents didn't give a crap. It said, this man's a decent man. Here's your dowry, get married. Or that settled it.
Well, but there again, the woman didn't have a choice. The outcome was enforced by probably her father.
I mean, they did have a choice, but to reject a decent guy and to not want to have, but to be forever, baggage on the family, and to never get with a guy, they tended to be ostracized from the family, and rightly so.
That's force.
Well,
the force was coming one way or another.
We need to close this out.
We do.
But I have one more thing to say. Men, do not wait for society to change in order to force women to be with you. Be your own man. Change yourself. And it's always, even in historically, the man who is his own man and is accountable to himself and God first and is on his own mission, those are the women, or those are the men that a woman will want to stay with. And it's a weak man who counts on society to keep his woman with him. Whether or not society supports you or not, whether you have a woman or not, be the best man you can be.
And that's all there is to it, gentlemen. Wow, we've been going at this a while.
Yeah,
All right, we bring it to a close.
It's definitely been a year, hasn't it? Since this is our last stream of the year.
Yep. Well, our next stream will probably be the 7th, I'm guessing.
Look at calendar. Yeah, yes. The next stream will be on the 7th.
And we are completely silent for the next 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Nice.
You will not hear from us again for 3 more weeks. Yep, 3 weeks. Elena she is doing a show on Saturday, but then she's going silent for two weekends after that. Both of us will be celebrating Christmas with family. We will not be doing the internet thing because at the end of the day, family is more important. I mean, I like our audience. You all are very smart. You guys push us, and we've had some fun this year, and we've come up with some stuff. It's been good, but you all need to go and be with your families as well. So we will not be here for the specific reason of we don't want you here either. So yeah, we will see you all in 3 weeks in a new year. Merry Christmas and have a happy New Year's, guys.
Bye.
There was a firefight! Son of a